Patriot batteries. Now, as Lucas Tomlinson here from Fox News aptly points out, Hamas and Hezbollah, they don't have ballistic missiles. Only Iran does. So, Crystal, the moment I saw the THAAD missile defense system being deployed to the region, I was like, okay, they are very, very seriously considering this. Just so people understand, these are the types of things that we deploy against North Korea and against very advanced military. So the idea that we would immediately deploy this system to the region, in addition to the Patriot missile defense systems, which the Saudis have used in the past against the Houthis, tells us that they are extremely concerned about a broader war, not with Hezbollah, not against terrorist groups like Hamas, directly with Iran. You don't do it otherwise.
Yeah, that is the big concern here in Washington, and something obviously we need to be concerned about as well, because this is an incredibly fraught, dangerous situation. That was supposedly the point of President Biden's trip to the Middle East, was trying to dissuade, trying to deter other actors from getting involved here. Also, while standing unequivocally beside Israel, apparently trying to talk behind the scenes to Netanyahu. There's reporting this morning that the U.S. has become more insistent on delaying that ground invasion. They are putting it, the way they are urging it is to try to deal with negotiating on the hostages before they push forward with the ground invasion. But this is just an incredibly, incredibly dangerous, chaotic situation. And if we zoom out even from, the immediate threat of a broader war and how that might implicate the U.S., how we might end up getting involved. And again, we talked about how they've already laid out the legal justification that it's not like they'd be asking you or me. They wouldn't even be asking Congress before committing troops if we did go in that direction. There's also the broader geopolitical picture of how this interacts with, hey, this isn't the only, war that we are somewhat involved with. You also have what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. And you have had attempts from the Biden administration to try to charm the global South. And they are looking at the situation in Gaza and Israel's relentless attacks. By the way, there was another massive barrage of missiles fired into Gaza overnight in a brutal assault on Gaza City in particular. They're looking at this very differently than U.S. policymakers are, and they see a massive amount of hypocrisy. New York Times actually reporting on this morning, and the view not only from Palestinians, but from the global South more broadly. They quote a Ramallah-based Palestinian political commentator who says, when the war first broke out in Ukraine, Palestinians were actually elated by the tough stance taken by Western capitals against one country occupying another's land. But then they go on to say, it seems that occupation is only bad if the guys who are not on your side are doing it. So China and Russia, of course, taking advantage of this situation, consolidating more support among the global South. Countries like India trying to figure out how they are going to navigate, a complex situation for them as well. But, the disparate views of occupation, depending on whether it is Russia, our adversary, or Israel, our ally, is once again exposing the one consistent of U.S. foreign policy, which is our hypocrisy.
Well, yeah, and that is why the entire time, on Ukraine, I was like, look, the point, this whole democracy, autocracy, and all of that, obviously it falls apart at a cursory glance of U.S. interests, which is why the best way to conduct U.S. foreign policy is to talk about what's in it for us and does it benefit us, to go into the net effect of how much we are funding this. That's the best way, and always has been, in order to conduct yourself as a state. However, here in Washington, policymakers and others twisting themselves into knots to try and justify why, if Israel were to be embroiled in a larger war, why it is worth actually the United States not going to war with Hamas, not going to war with Hezbollah, directly going to war with Iran. For a perfect example of what real bipartisanship looks like here in Washington, let's put this up there.